Alrighty. It's been a long time since I've uploaded anything. I've been working on immigration stuff, trying to get my wife and kids here from Mexico, and that has been taking a ridiculous amount of hassle, money, and time. So uploading stuff like all the time, just not happening. Not happening right now. I do wanna do a few more reactions to like some music videos and stuff. But I am doing this one because I went and saw this movie Sound of Freedom on Sunday. And I normally wouldn't do one on a movie, but because this movie was so just awesome. Like it was like I would have to say if you're looking to see like an entertaining movie like the new Indiana Jones or the Mission Impossible movie or whatever, like just kind of not serious and just goof around, like go have fun movie, like maybe this one here is not gonna fill that I'm going to the movie just to have a great time. But I would have to say that this is probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I'm like trying to push anything, but I would say this movie here was really close to, if you've ever seen a movie called The Free State of Jones. It's not really a happy movie, but when you're done with the movie, you're just sitting there and you're just like, holy fuck. That was incredibly sad and just like sad, well done. I guess just like really impactful. I would say that if you're going to take your family to see this movie, I don't think it would be a good idea to take any kids under 13, maybe. I mean, I guess it is PG-13, so that kind of makes sense. But just like what the movie's about. It's like obviously it's about like child sex slavery and such. And that can be a touchy subject, and I've got a 4 and a 5-year old, and I definitely would not take them to see this because I would rather they didn't even understand what that is until they get quite a bit older. Let's see. And then, something I noticed about this movie, it is done by, what is it, Angel Studios or something like that. It wasn't originally, I guess originally it was done by Fox Century, and then Fox Century got bought out by Disney, and then Disney decided to just shelve it, which is kind of interesting. So with it being done by a Christian company, I guess technically it wasn't done by a Christian company. It was done before that. But even though the producer is Catholic, I didn't really get a super pushy religious vibe from it. The main character that the movie's based on, Tim Ballard. Like in real life, he is like a religious Christian and everything. So it like shows that in the movie, and his family's Christian and everything. But it doesn't like cram it down your throat like I don't know, maybe more so like Fireproof or Flywheel or some of those movies. That's like those movies are like directly Christian movies, and so you really feel it in the movie. This one here just kind of felt like a totally normal movie with the main character and his family being Christian. I'm sure anybody that's watching this has probably already seen some of the controversy about the movie, and so I've got a couple little things right here. There's the Rotten Tomato score, which 73% is kind of like, it's like the worst rating you could give a movie without it actually being a bad rating. Obviously, you can see the audience score right there, 100%. That 73%, like I read some of the comments on here, and I don't know. I don't feel like doing that right now. But I did read some of the comments on here, and some people are saying that it's like bland and it's like kind of pushing at your emotions and stuff. And it's just like, well, I mean, kinda, but like, I mean, that is kind of what it's about. It's like, let's see, which one is this? Oh yeah, the Rolling Stones one. This is my favorite. Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brainworms. A QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy addled boomer. So like when I was in the theater watching this, like I was one of the oldest people in the theater. Like most of the people in there, I would say average were in their 20s to 30s. I'm 31, so I was like on the top end on the top end of that. I mean, definitely there was older people in there. There was definitely some grandparents in there and stuff. But it definitely wasn't like, you know, all boomers. And I don't know. Like I read a good portion of this article, and it's just like, I don't know. It just this whole article was really cringe for me, and I mean, it kind of makes sense why Rolling Stone's just completely gone into the dumpster. Okay, so just your, what's this one here? Google rating. It's a 4.9 with 3,424 ratings. Like, dude, everybody that watches the movie loves it, unless somebody goes into the theater with a preconception of just not wanting to like it. Like, I would understand not liking it, because if I went in to see a movie and I just wanted to have a really enjoyable, like, kickback time and not, like, actually feel anything while I'm watching the movie, say, like, a Fast and Furious movie or something, like, I would totally understand that. But I feel like if anybody's going to see this movie, they're probably going to know what it's at least about, and they're going to go into the theater with a little bit of a idea of what they're getting themselves into. Like, what was this one? Oh, yeah. I was looking at the Mission Impossible, and this has a 96 of Rotten Tomatoes, and I think I already clicked on enough stuff that it's wanting to show me ads every time. But yeah, and a 94 audience score. So it's just like, I don't know. The Sound of Freedom having a 100% audience score, and then a 73 of the tomato meter. I kind of feel like Rotten Tomatoes just doesn't want to like the movie, if that makes any sense. Let's see. Okay, here's another one here. All on its own, Sound of Freedom is a solemn, drawn-out bore with a not particularly bold narrative stance. Caring about the safety of children is roughly the easiest cause for any remotely decent human being. That is absolute shit. It's like the whole movie, and I'm not typically somebody that like really gets into movies, but this entire movie was very intense, and especially once you get into it, and if you watch a few podcasts with Tim, what did I say his name was? Tim Ballard. If you actually watch some of the podcasts with Tim Ballard, and he's actually talking about the cases and stuff, all of this stuff actually happened. Most of the characters, like, in the movies are real people that he talks about, like, in different podcasts that he's been on and stuff. I watched a podcast with Tim Ballard probably 6 years ago was the first time I actually heard of him and heard about, like, the mission that he was doing and stuff. And so a lot of this, like, reading a lot of this stuff is just, dude, this dude's real. Everything that happened in the movie, like, obviously it's still a movie, so it's not like a one-for-one duplicate of real life. But from all the podcasts I've seen, and from watching the movie and hearing his stories and seeing it consistent through the movie, it really seems like the movie's actually based on a true story and not based on a true story like Hollywood movies like to base stuff on true stories. So a lot of these reviews I kind of just feel like are just people that don't want to like a movie that is, you know, released by conservative Christians, even though I would say it's way better than any Hollywood movie I've seen in the last few years. Let's see. Okay, so before you go watch this movie, which I would say you definitely should go see it. I would say watch Jordan Peterson's podcast with Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard. Episode 372, you can just look it up on his page, super easy, and watch it. It is, you know, it's an hour and a half long, but if you watch this, you will have a completely different perspective when you actually go into the movie theater and watch it, because you'll have a completely different vision watching the movie, and it almost makes the movie a lot more intense knowing that the stuff actually happened. And I would say that the next one I would watch, if you got a whole bunch of time, would be the Timcast IRL episode. Let's see, what's it say for the title here? Biden activates military reserve to deploy to Europe over Ukraine war with Tim Ballard. They don't, like, the title right there, they don't talk about that for like 5 minutes of the episode. And it's like, what, 2 hours and 6 minutes long? So they talk about that in the beginning for like 5 minutes. That's it. The rest they're talking about stuff with Tim Ballard about like his experiences and different like actual missions that he went on. So it's pretty interesting. Even there's parts of this. There's even parts of this that's almost harder to watch than the movie, because you're actually hearing it out of the horse's mouth about what actually happened on some of these cases. And so I definitely suggest watch that if you don't got nothing better to do. And then it's actually kind of neat if you look through, if you're just like doing Google searches and stuff on Tim Ballard, there's actual footage of like the busts and stuff, which is like kind of insane. Like this is all real footage from when they did this. And dude, what's crazy about this, I forget which one, if it was the Jordan Peterson one or the Timcast one, but they were actually talking about how when they filmed the movie, they went back to this island where it happened. So it's like actually the place, which is just kind of nuts to me. Obviously like multiple years later, but yeah, turns out that Epstein's Island wasn't the only one. And so yeah, just do some Google searches around and see what you can find. There's actually some pretty interesting stuff. And then, oh, you know, something else I was going to talk about is this guy right here. This guy in the movie, dude. So in, gosh, I forget which one it is. But anyways, that's a real dude too. Apparently they actually called him Batman because of a lot of the work that he did. But there's, oh shoot, these are actually the ones I watched right here. So this is the actual guy that character was based on. The real story of Vampiro, I guess Batman episode what? I think there's 3 episodes of this, and they're worth watching because it's actually kind of a neat story too. Because he's, you know, literally exactly like the character in the movie. Even apparently this real guy smoked cigars as much as he did in the movie. Yeah. So it may be a little bit more emotional for parents. As a parent of 2, I've got a little girl and a little boy. I could see why this movie would be difficult for parents, because even throughout the movie, it's really difficult to not picture your kids' face on these kids, especially for me, because it's like my kids are in Mexico right now, which is where a lot of the kids get kidnapped from before they go to, you know, like in the movie Colombia, I believe was the place they took them, or like in reality, most of the kids get trafficked to the United States because we got lots of the old pedos over here. I would definitely say that if you are going to watch this movie, it would definitely be something you should see in a theater. Because I don't know about everybody else, but when I'm at home watching a movie, I'm on my phone, I've got YouTube short, texting my friends, and I'm getting up to go to the bathroom, and I'm, you know, looking through the refrigerator. And I would say if you watch it at home, it's gonna take a lot away from the movie for you, because it's just so much easier to be distracted. Whereas in the movie, there's nobody talking, no kids screaming if you got kids, there's no refrigerator to look through, you shouldn't really be on your phone in a theater, and it really just makes the movie, I don't know, just a lot more serious, I guess. You won't regret it. Like, straight up. If you go see this movie, you will not regret it. It is, like I said at the beginning of this, I will say this is probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It's hard to get through. I plan on definitely taking more precautions with my kids when we're running around town and everything. You know, when I was like 19 years old, I got arrested because I was being a little and I was actually trespassing on someone's property, ripping donuts in my truck, and anyways, I got pulled over, and the cops were real ticked off. The property owner, he was a crazy nasty old redneck who had quite the temper. Don't get me wrong, I'd be pissed too if somebody was ripping donuts in my driveway, but like, I think he definitely blew it out of proportion, because that's literally all we were doing. Anyways, long story short, I got arrested because when the cops looked in my truck, I had a gun in the back seat, and apparently you're not supposed to do that on somebody else's property. So I got taken in for trespassing and having a gun that wasn't registered to me, even though it's like my gun, and, you know, had it since I was a little kid. But anyways, so when I was in the sheriff's department trying to get my guns back, I had talked to some of the lady sheriffs up in Yuba County, California. And if anybody on here knows where Yuba County, California is, Yuba City, like Marysville, that area, it's just a farm community. There's rice, almonds, pears, peaches, walnuts, like all agriculture. And so I had actually had some conversations with the sheriff lady that was working that day while I was getting arrested. Or no, not while I was getting arrested, but while I was trying to retrieve my guns. That was at least 12 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And even back then, this was like a huge thing, and she was talking to me about all of the human trafficking that goes on in this little farm community. And she was telling me about how people from out of the country will just like Sam's Club, Costco, Walmart, wherever you are, talking to me about how they have all this security footage that they have to go through of literally like in movies of vans pulling up, 2 or 3 people jumping out, snatching kids, and they said within the end of the week they're already shipped overseas in shipping containers. Dude, that is insane. You don't really expect this stuff to really happen in real life. It's like you expect it like in movies like Taken, or like in really bad areas like say Guatemala, or like I don't know, like maybe in Los Angeles or something like that. But to hear it coming like from my town, and hearing her say that it's actually a serious issue, it's a lot to reflect on. And honestly, I think I'm just gonna leave it at this. Anyways, like and subscribe. Maybe I'll upload something again in the next 6 months. Adios.